We have breaking news as developing right now. Iranian state media reported that more than 400 missiles were launched from Iran to Israel in response to the martyrdom of martyr Haniyeh, said Hassan Nasrallah, and martyr Nifru-Shan. They targeted the heart of the occupied territories. The missiles could be seen from Jordan's capital Amman and the West Bank in occupied Palestine, as reported by sources on the ground. Dozens of projectiles can be seen in the sky heading westward towards Jerusalem and Israel. In this context, the United States President Joe Biden stated that the U.S. is prepared to help Israel fight the Iranian missile attacks and to protect the U.S. military in the region. This is breaking news that we are receiving right now as Iran launched a missile strike, hundreds of ballistic missiles towards Israel in retaliation for the aggression that the Israeli regime has been carrying out for the past week and for the past years almost against the Palestinian people in Gaza and all the military raids that have been happening in the occupied West Bank. We must remember that last week an Israeli strike in Lebanon's capital in Beirut killed the head of the Hezbollah resistance movement, of the Lebanese resistance movement Hezbollah, and several Iranian officials. And all is in these actions following the escalations of attacks by the Israeli army that has been putting high tensions in the territory. The attack follows all these Israeli crimes that have been happening for the past week and past year in Palestine. Since September 23rd, the Israeli military has been increasing its aggressions against the Lebanese capital and the southern borders of Lebanon. Authorities have reported over 700 people killed in the period of this week and thousands of wounded. The UN has reported over 1 million displaced so far in this period of this week following these attacks by the Israeli army. This action comes after Iran pledged to deliver a response to attack Israel following the assassination of Hezbollah's leader Hassan Nasrallah and Iranian authorities that were killed in the attack that hit a residential building in Beirut. This has been the largest Israeli attacks to the capital. The images we are seeing are from the missiles flying over the skies that were seen over the skies of Jordan from the area of Amman, traveling towards the Israeli areas and the occupied territories of Palestine and Jerusalem to hit. The intended targets are to hit important critical military structures of the Israeli occupation forces. Breaking news developing right now from the Middle East region as tensions continue to escalate. We have a new information. Iran launched the attack with at least 240 ballistic missiles against the cities of Tel Aviv and Jerusalem this Tuesday. The Israeli army reports that the attack marks an escalation of the conflict, which worsened significantly in recent hours. This attack has triggered evacuation orders in the Israeli cities. We must remember that all this comes after Israel continues to escalate its aggressions and its expansionist policies towards Lebanon and Palestine. So this is the news that we're having right now. Iran is responding to Israeli aggressions against Lebanon, against Syria, against Palestine. Over the past week, the Israeli occupation army have been escalating their bombings and military raids in the case of the West Bank and their bombings in Syria, Lebanon, and Gaza, through killing hundreds of civilians, mostly children and women. Iran's permanent mission to the UN stated that this is Iran's legal, rational, and legitimate response to the Zionist regime's terrorist acts, which include attacks against Iranian citizens and interests and violations of the national sovereignty of the Islamic Republic of Iran, and has been duly carried out. If the Zionist regime dares to respond or commit further acts of malevolence, there will be a crushing response. Regional states and supporters of the Zionists are advised to stay away from the regime. This is a message just given by Iran's permanent representative to the UN, stating that this is Iran's legitimate response to the aggressions carried out by the Israeli regime against the people of Lebanon, against the people of Syria, against the Palestinian people, against the people of Iran. As we've been reporting, the missiles could be seen from Jordan's capital Amman and in the West Bank in occupied Palestine. 240 ballistic missiles have been fired from Iran to Israel in retaliation for the Israeli aggressions that have been escalating for the past week. All this is in response to the martyrdom of Martyr Haniyeh, said Hassan Nasrallah, the head of Hezbollah, the Lebanese resistance movement, and Martyr Nifrushan, who died during Israeli bombings in the capital of Lebanon, Beirut, strikes that hit residential buildings, killing dozens of people, dozens of civilians. So this is the breaking news we're having right now. Iran is responding to the Israeli aggression. For the past days, the world has been denouncing the Israeli expansionist policies and their increasing war crimes that they are committing in the Middle East, and have warned of the dangerous escalation that Israel was committing by attacking all the residential buildings, residential areas lately in the capital of Lebanon, in Beirut. Over 700 civilians have died in Lebanon in the past week since September 23rd, not to say the thousands, the tens of thousands that have died in Gaza and the thousands that have died in the West Bank in the past year of the Israeli genocide that is being committed in Gaza in the face of the world. And the international community so far has stayed silent and has turned a blind eye and has not done anything to stop what is happening. We must remember that at the time that the Prime Minister of Israel was speaking at the UN General Assembly, which just ended yesterday, Israel was bombing and killing civilians in Lebanon, and in those attacks killed the head of the Lebanese resistance movement, Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah. Turkey, just yesterday, the President Recep Tayyip Erdogan called for the immediate implementation, since the Security Council had been so far unable to put a stop to the Israeli war crimes, called for the implementation of the Unity Act to use force to stop Israel, and warned that if that could not be done, armed force would be required and they would take action. These are the breaking news. We're going to continue updating as the situation unfolds. Iran retaliated to Israeli aggressions that have been being committed in the past week. Stay tuned for teleSUR English with more information we'll have in upcoming hours.